religion and mythologies and all of that stuff. The only reason why they exist is it's because of, and if you look at what Jordan Peterson's been saying, he's been saying this without actually saying it, that religion and mythology are just extractions of reality placed into a form that any human can understand, which is story. So not everyone can understand maths and not everyone can understand science, etc. But we can all understand story. And so the one basic thing, which is story, is what we use then to define the metaphysical. So that's why it all sounds like religion and mythology and story, but that's only because that's the only thing we can relate to. So the reality of all these things is that they are actually scientific concepts. And the reason why they're scientific concepts is because there's the idea that if you can imagine something, then it's real. Then it must have some sort of reality before it can reach the position of story or imagination within your mind. So there's the idea of the God of Spinoza, which Elon Musk said that he believes in the God of Spinoza, which is what Einstein said. It's this hermetic idea that the universe is God and God is the universe. So all matter in the universe is in a state of either being what it is, what we know it as now, which is the physical world, or the conscious world, which is God. So in Hermeticism, there's the idea that there's a constant flow between the two, of changing from the purely conscious to the purely physical, or from God to material to God. That process keeps happening. And so the intention now then is to make a bridge between the two, between the purely physical and the purely conscious, so that this process doesn't keep happening over and over, that we can have a unity between the two. And this also goes to the Bible, where humans received knowledge from the tree of knowledge. But after that, God barred them from the garden so that they didn't have access to the tree of life. So we know what knowledge is, which is the physical. We don't know what life is, which is the conscious, which is the spirit. Call it spirit if you want. So the intention now then is to use our modern technology to put that together with our religions, which is the story form of the metaphysical, decode that, and then use our technology to break through from the world of physical, the world of knowledge, break through into the world of consciousness, because we know absolutely nothing about consciousness. So all those stories and all this stuff, to you it's religion, to you it's some method of making your life, I don't know, better, or whatever it is. But all it is using humans as a vessel to process the information of the real physical realities of these stories, and then use our modern technology like AI, video analysis, word analysis, all of these things to, and they all exist, like companies like Palantir, to extract all this information, to analyze it, and then to use the key that Kabbalism has already defined, which is the 22 paths to the tree of life, the Sphirot, which is also the path of the flaming sword. So the flaming sword is what blocks the tree of life, blocks access to it. And so what they've done is Kabbalism, why I say they're the highest religion, is because they have figured out the means of connecting the spiritual with the physical. So the spiritual they call the Ein Sof, which is the infinite space. And so they believe that within the infinite space is the key to consciousness, the purpose, the divine purpose. And so when we can receive that, when we can bring it down into humans, then we will know the ultimate purpose of humans. So just to get into a little bit of detail about the tree of life, so they figured out that life and consciousness mirror each other, especially since knowledge is born within our bodies. So that means it must be mirrored as consciousness. It must be mirrored in the figure of our bodies, which is then by extension believed to be the universe itself. So everybody is the universe in themselves, or at least a part of it. And that's why everything has to be extracted and brought together to create a full picture. That's why Mars says we must expand the scope and scale of human consciousness to know what questions to ask, because we know the answer, right? We've got the tree, the formula, the crypt of the Tree of Life. So because of that, decoding human consciousness can be extracted from words. Basically, all our consciousness is expressed in words. So they decided that the Bible was the Old Testament was the words to be used to decode God, the highest form of consciousness. And so they mirrored the letters, 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, that's excluding vowels. Mirrored, that's 44, and then there are 10 spheres in the Tree of Life. So 22 times 2, that's 44, times 10 spheres, because each one has its own set of letters. Every sphere is a number, 0 to 9. And then that gives you 44 times 10 is 440. However, as I said, all religions are basically just a different version of a crypt, of accessing human consciousness. So that's why there's so many different religions in so many different parts of the world. All of them are designed for those specific people, as a means to extract their consciousness through their belief of story, which is the basic preset, which very few people, select group of people, came up with those stories, and then other people believe them and then fall into that method of extraction. So in the New Testament, that's written in Greek or in English or in Latin, with the Latin alphabet. And if we take the Latin alphabet without vowels, there are 21 letters. And so if you use the New Testament, just like the Kabbalists are using the Old Testament, use the New Testament but use it with Latin letters, you find that it's 21 letters without vowels, mirrored, because one represents the physical and the other the spiritual. So that's 42 letters times 10 spheres. One set of letters for every number, 0 to 9, gives you 420. So that's where the number 420 comes from, as a reference to cannabis, to weed, because it's the meditative method of extracting the highest form of consciousness of humans. So all of this stuff really just exists throughout history. The story has been playing out until now. I mean, we're just pawns in this game, but it's been playing out until this moment when we can have the technology to finally bridge the gap between consciousness and the physical.